The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "Your thoughts become your actions. Your actions become your habits become your routines, and your routines become your destiny." Your habits are going to be the foundation of literally everything, not only that you do, but everything that you become in your life. And a lot of times, your habits will then have an effect not only on your life, but on the lives of those around you. And so in this, I want to give you 6 habits that you can go ahead and use on your day-to-day basis. And if not on your daily, just make sure that you do build a habit around this in general. As I promise you, these 6 habits will dramatically change your life as you incorporate them. These 6 are inspired by Hal Elrod and his book, Miracle Morning. You can go ahead and find it on Amazon and other places online. Wonderful book. I've read it a few times. I encourage you to at least read it once, if not multiple times, to keep the refreshment. But of course, now you'll have this video. So with it, the first one, and what he calls are the S.A.V.E.R.S. First one is S, for silence. And what he means by silence is meditation, in the sense of giving that space for things to feel a little bit slower for a moment, where you can, and especially in the sense of meditation, allow the thoughts to come and not necessarily stop them or impede them, but just take advantage of the silence in that moment. Because especially these habits being inspired from Miracle Morning, silence and enjoying that in the morning. Then followed by A, for affirmations, visualizing and optimizing our brain. Followed then by V, for visualization. So affirmations and visualizations, using these exercises to prime ourselves for the kind of day that we want to have. Then E, for exercise, because getting our blood flow going, waking up our body, getting ourselves ready to move for action, especially with how this health across the world, it's really not a high bar anymore, so exercising. R, for reading, with more and more people reading less and less, and on top of that, being able to keep attention on things for less and less, reading starts to have an even more powerful effect, not only for what you can learn, but for the cognitive abilities and cognitive help it'll create for you. And then lastly, S, for scribing, or better said, journaling. Taking a pen and paper, taking that from your brain and putting it then onto that paper so that it's not in your head. And then from there, writing it down. What are your big 3 for today? What is the direction we are taking? What are we grateful for? And journaling each day. These 6 habits, and we're going to dive even further. So welcome to today's Gen Ed class. Our mornings tend to be, if we don't do a good job of waking up early, kind of chaotic. And so it's really important, if we can do a good job of the morning, we can have a really incredible day, as Hal Elrod gives us direction on with Miracle Morning. So with this, the first one of S, and silence. I don't know about for you. I have personally stopped using that really loud, annoying alarm as best that I can. Not to say I don't, but I try not to, because it's not necessarily the most enjoyable way to wake up. But that, along with just having some time in the morning to start a little bit more slowly, because I don't know about for you, but I know for me, once I get going, I'm going, man. You know, it's kind of like strap me in on a roller coaster, and depending on what's going on that day or that month or that season, it can sometimes feel like I'm strapping in the morning and I get all the way to the end of the day. And you know that moment at the end of the ride where it's like, all right, you know, the harness starts to come up, but then for some reason it doesn't come up and you're kind of there, and then everyone else loads on and it just takes off again. You know, that obviously can feel a certain way. But so having silence in the morning to appreciate some of that slowness. The other way I like to think of it is how Jeff Bezos had put it in an article that he was interviewed in, and what he calls puttering. But in the mornings, just waking up slowly and not necessarily jumping out of bed, but just doing all of those first actions very slowly and enjoying that silence. Now, after we've gotten out of bed and we've had some time, we have our affirmations. These are the ways in which we remind ourselves of the identity we are cultivating, and with that, what we affirm to be the reality we want to create for ourselves. And so with this, it can be simple things like writing it down or simply verbalizing a paragraph that you have for yourself. Typically, they can be a lot of I am statements or just your specific goals for the day, but overall having an affirmation. And these can change day by day. They are not fixed in stone. They're written on paper that can be thrown out and rewritten. This then comes into visualizations. And this is where we take these ideas, these affirmations, and just allow ourselves to visualize, to daydream. And if you're sitting there like, why the heck would I sit there and daydream? Well, I'll go ahead and reference another book, How to Become CEO or How to Be CEO by Jeffrey A. Fox. And in it, he has one of the rules that state to spend an hour a day thinking, right? Thinking. And so what this comes down to is being able to not necessarily worry about survival like food and shelter and just the basics, but being able to spend time to do bigger picture thinking, visualizations, right? And so A and V, affirmations and visualizations of these habits, of our S.A.V.E.R.S habits, are very important for optimizing our brain with our reticular activating system. And then from there, doing it every single day so that we have the most updated and efficient system possible, right? Because then from there comes exercise, E. There's not really a high bar anymore, frankly. I mean, there's an absurd amount of people that are obese. There's an absurd amount of people that just don't keep any sort of fitness. And from there, it's just pretty sick. But the main point to that is it's sick because then you lose out on so much of what you can have, specifically the energy. Because if you are trying to be a high performer, it's very hard to be a high performer when you don't have the energy to perform at a high level. And exercise creates that. It helps with your metabolism, with the way your body regulates its functions, its hormones, your happiness, your emotions. And it's what allows you to spend not only the day in a very much fast pace and getting a lot of stuff, kind of energy, can-do attitude, but also just finishing the day in a wind sprint versus a crawl, right? Exercise, getting the blood flowing specifically in the morning, because there's just that, I'm sure you felt it as I have, feeling of satisfaction when you have knocked out that little bit of personal checklist, personal to-do list. All right, I exercised. I feel good about myself. Today's going to be a good day. Or at least it's just going to be better because at least we know we did something better for us. And exercise will always put us in a good mind state. And so the thing is I don't mean exercise, go to the gym, like lift a ton of weights or like run till your heart is about to give out or until your legs are about to give out. No, but here's a good practice. If you are someone that struggles to go to the gym, can you just get yourself to show up to the gym for 2 minutes? You may walk in, you could not even hit the treadmill, but just go to the gym and start to habituate the idea of exercising. And then as you start to find yourself in those areas, you go into the law of proximity and the rest will sort itself out. But the habit of exercise nonetheless, go to the gym, right? Put yourself in an exercising state or environment and get the blood flowing. Get yourself moving and exercise so that you are better than the very unfit average human and average, especially American. And then we come into reading because this is about just as bad. Reading. Okay, people's attention spans, I think we can all agree, are starting to get dramatically short. And it's really ridiculous. But the point in that being is that a lot of them are just headlines, short tidbits, comments, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, a paragraph, maybe 2. A lot of people aren't reading the article. They're reading the headlines, right? They're reading the couple sentences. And so we're reading a lot, but we're not necessarily reading anything. One of the things I especially love about reading is the fact that, for example, right now, I'm doing my best to stay on point with the message of this episode, but I'm not perfect, and I will ramble, whether in this episode or in other episodes. But in a book, the author cannot ramble. And if they do, it's probably not a good book because that's what the editing is for. And so from there, reading allows not only this highly sophisticated, articulated thought, but it is this constant stream of consciousness that is articulated, well thought out, so that this way you get not only a message or the message, but you get it in the deepest possible way, so that you can really understand a concept from all the conceivable sides, because you can get that point across over 10, 20, 50 pages compared to a few sentences or a couple sentences. And reading refocuses us, literally, with the attention side of things, building our focus muscle, because it's the same thing as our discipline muscle. The discipline to sit there and focus on reading this one subject, this one message, this one concept for an extended period of time. Now, 10 minutes, 10 minutes would be an extended period of time now, crazy enough. An hour. But so the point in that being reading and its importance for your cognitive function, your cognitive ability, for your general knowledge and know-how, your likelihood to succeed, your relatability, so that you know something and you can connect with other new people. Reading is very, very helpful. And if you struggle to read and build a habit, similar to exercising, I encourage you to do this. At night, before you go to sleep, it doesn't have to be in the morning, but in the morning is good too. Either time, when you wake up or before you go to sleep, can you just open it and start reading? Whether it be 1 page or 10 pages, 1 minute or 5 hours, doesn't matter. Some nights, some mornings, you will find yourself excited to continue reading, and others you will do just a little bit. Again, the point is building the habit. It is not the amount or the volume, it is the habit of having done so. Because I promise you, should you do 1, 10, 15, 30, an hour per day, is going to be a lot better than if you do 10 hours 1 day a week. Because if you miss that 1 day, you just missed the whole week. But if you only commit to 10 minutes a day and you miss 1 day, you only miss 1 day and you have another 6 opportunities. So then lastly, we finish off with scribing, the last S in our 6 habits for success to save your life. And so this habit to save your life, subscribing, or that too, you should subscribe, but scribing or journaling. Journaling is going to be the very powerful action of literally writing down what you either feel grateful for or just anything. So if you take this into the historical context, there is very much this deep, powerful thing that happened in our human psyche when we started to write, especially when we started to have cave paintings and be able to put things in our brain onto an external surface and then project abstract concepts. That's our superpower. So from there, scribing allows us to hyper-focus these things and remove it from our head so that we can create an objective perspective on things. And then with that, not necessarily get stuck in our heads. So scribing, especially to give you more direction in how you should scribe or journal about what you're grateful for. Because when you have to look at the 2 states, there's a spectrum, and the extremes being a state of hopelessness, and then the opposite side of this spectrum, where you don't feel any of this hopelessness, where you have abundance, right? Where things actually are possible. And so scribing, when we talk about abundance in this context, hopelessness and gratitude, writing about what you're grateful for on a day-to-day basis, right? And this just goes back to the point of reading. Right there, I rambled for a moment. You may not have noticed it, but in a book, you wouldn't have seen that, right? Go back to reading. But so with it scribing, you have hopelessness and gratitude. Journal about what you're grateful for every day. Journal about how you intend to be or what you can do or will do today to be the best version of yourself, and then what your big 3 are today. The main point in this is simply that you are journaling and setting a direct, specific action and reflecting and asking yourself questions to grow. It's a tool of introspection. So these 6 habits, as shown by Hal Elrod in Miracle Morning, these are 6 habits to help you save your life and succeed in life. Again, number 1, S, this one's for silence or meditation. The second one, A, affirmations. Third one, V, for visualizations. These 2 being to optimize your brain and make sure you're focusing on what you want. Then you have E for exercise, to make sure your body and your mind are in unison and excited and ready to move and get things done. V for reading, so that this way you are growing your mind and continuing to learn and sharpening your focus and sharpening your discipline. And then lastly is going to be S for scribing, journaling, what you're grateful for and the big 3 things you'll do today, and just really your tool for introspection. I promise you, you use these 6 habits, they will save your life. They will dramatically change your life as they have changed mine. So if you found value in this episode, go ahead, take and put your takeaways into the comments below. You can follow us in our handles that you can find in the description below. From there as well, onto your own social medias, share the show. You'll find us on all the different platforms and help others find us too, so that they can take advantage of this information and grow themselves as well. Hit the notification bell so that you can get notifications for the future episodes. Hit the subscribe button so you can get all of these notifications that I just mentioned. And of course, we'll then see you on the next episode. And with that, your Next Gen Ed class.